Okay, next. Number 1 has already been adjourned to 8:24, is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Number 2, this is Public Hearings Historic, BHNH LLC. There's a letter, theoretically, is there a letter in the file? Requesting
Yes.
adjournment to 8/24/2020?
We got letters. I got a copy of the letter.
Yeah, here you go. Here's a copy.
Okay,
Here's a
is
copy.
that what it says?
There's the letter.
Oh, I have that.
Yep.
Motion to approve the applicant's request for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Aye.
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 Was there a date on that letter of adjournment?
August 4th.
Thank you. August 4th, you mean September 4th, Peter? They're looking for
Oh.
8/24.
Wait a minute.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
right.
Okay.
They brought new plans?
Okay.
Did we get the plans? Oh, these old ones?
August the 6th.
Oh, yeah. Next, Jason Kahn, 155 Hampton Road, relocate and expand the rear of the existing dwelling. We need Zach. Construct attached garage and pool house. We need Zach. Zach? Yes, ma'am. We need you. Thank you. Your names, please?
My name is Seo Liu. I'm the architect for 155 Hampton Road.
Jason Kahn, I'm the owner and applicant for 155 Hampton Road. If I may, I'll have Lucy. Good evening, everybody.
So you can flip those around.
Oh, I apologize. Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
You do have it. Okay.
This is the email. I got it from
Okay, good.
Diane.
Just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'll just do a quick 2-minute opening statement, and Lucy will do the specifics of the changes. I just want to thank the board and the historian, Mr. Studenroth, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, for the time, the generous time, and that you guys did a site visit. We really greatly appreciate it, and the feedback also. Also, Chris and Ms. Greger for forwarding us the subsequent report. We did, as I mentioned, when I purchased this house, I bought it for the historical factor because that's what my family and I love to do, and that's what we wanted. So it was really a determining factor. And I brought in several contractors, architects, and it was pretty much unanimous. They claimed with the newer additions and the structural integrity issues. So some of, it was no offense to Lucy, but some architects were not willing to work with me in the preservation factor because that fundamentally was my first intention. I have to say I did look at the report, and I feel that it, from Mr. Studenroth, I feel that it corroborated what I represented to the board, that the way the newer additions were added in itself sealed the fate of the newer, the demise of the newer extensions, the roof line, the foundation, and that made it, pretty much irreparable. Sorry, I apologize. And so we really appreciate the fact that Lucy was there, and she listened to the feedback and some of the stuff the historian said, and we went back, did exact measurements with the post, the details. I believe the recommendation was to investigate further what to be preserved or not, but Lucy and I, we want to preserve all of it in terms of the porch, the detail, the brackets, whatever needs to be replicated will be replicated. There was just one left, so we're going to have carpenter redo the rest of it. And Lucy will do the measurements and the specific Italianate factor about it. I also, Miss Latham, am I saying that correctly? We did, I'm not going to go too much into the proposed extension, but you did mention that the windows that we changed and added up three smaller windows. So we went back. I wanted with the one-story extension towards Woolley being subservient to the main structure. So I wanted a higher ceiling, but I threw that out and says it's not what I want. It's what's harmonious and respectful of the structure. So we lowered that back and put the same measurement of those windows. I apologize about the last-minute change. Thank you. I read the Interior, Secretary of Interior guidelines, and it says that the newer structure should be differentiated from the old structure. So I kind of looked at what we had for that one story, and it kind of looked like a, sorry, can I roll this back?
Are these different from the plan?
Just this part.
I will tell you it was different.
Just
very
one page,
little,
yeah.
Very little.
So I kind of looked back, and
So I have to, excuse me,
Just the railing.
I have to stamp them if they're new plans into the file.
It's already in the, I already.
The bigger plan?
Yeah, that one is swapped because Diane said all the small sets already signed out. So she said bring the small
Because
sets.
they have to be in by the noon on Thursday before the meeting, because
Yeah, understood. We actually.
doesn't matter.
We
It just,
could
we
make
didn't have them, okay?
Yeah, we wanted to make an improvement
Exactly.
over the weekend.
Okay.
Right, and I really sincerely apologize about that.
Yeah.
It's just that I read up a little bit from the member Broadleaf, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
that's good, yeah.
And it said that, you should not cheaply imitate the main structure. And just the dominant structure is that main structure, and the historian pointed out it was this rectangular part. So I kind of wanted some change of detail, maybe a paneling above and below, so that that this is a different part and it's not continuation, because it looked before like it's just continuing and we're trying to a cheap imitation of it.
Wait, you need this, right?
Oh, I'm not sure if I have it.
I printed 7 copies.
Okay, that's good.
I don't have one now.
There's two here.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So this is different from,
So you have to.
I have two.
All right, I'll hand it over to Lucy soon. And in closing, I just, Mrs. Stevenson, you mentioned, Chairwoman, you mentioned that this shouldn't be allowed. The fact of the disrepair, and I agree with that. I spoke to my neighbor on both sides.
It's the law that it shouldn't be. It's
Right,
not-
I
I'm not
understand.
thinking
I
this
understand.
out.
And
Okay.
I understand. And
Letting a historic building deteriorate is against the law
right,
in the
and
village.
I must say that people say, "Oh, the bank owned it before." The bank did not own it before. That was just the front
We
servicing.
saw
It was
them.
3 investors. Yeah.
But we actually dealt with them. So
Right.
you don't, we had them make some repairs.
Right, but their thing was to eventually, to
Sell
go
it,
about
yeah.
the condemnation proceeding. That was their intention. So it's Deutsche Bank Financial, but that's just the servicer. It was actually 3 hedge fund investors that own it.
Demolition by neglect.
Right. So that's what their plan. I mean, when I bought it, I said, no, I want to restore it. I mean, certain things are not feasible, and we're trying our best, but we really appreciate everything that you guys mentioned. I believe that Lucy really took detailed notes in the historian observation, and we went back and really made the changes, including removing sidelights, the change we made on the original structure. We kind of removed all of that. And there's one window, which Lucy will discuss, that has been there. It was covered up. We have the picture and the evidence of it. So that was replaced in our thing.
You can see it's very, very faint. I couldn't capture. I went there many times to see.
She's not
I went there many times to see which angle of sunlight will give you more of the line, but it's very hard to see. It's right here. You can see. You can see a little bit line there, but if you stand in front of the house, you see it very, very easily. There is a line there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a...
It's boarded up. It's very obvious.
Well, it makes
When you
total
stand.
sense.
It does
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah,
In the middle?
yeah, right in the middle. It's boarded up. Yeah.
Sort of a ghost window.
There's a ghost.
If you see this is
see.
there's a blow
I
up
see it.
of this.
Lucy, I believe
I see the
they
light.
mentioned this side.
And first of all, let me say thank you again for letting me to join the field trip. It was enlightening. It was informative. I love it. I love every bit of it. And what I did is that I listened to historian what he wants me to see. And I went back and I climbed on the ladder. I got all these field dimensions and measured the bracket. The brackets, some of them are 2, some are 1, some are, and these are 2s are bigger. The singles are smaller, and the corners. And these are all field measurements, and I draw the map. So we could either use the original in a good shape, or missing, we'll replace it. And then the porch, the column is really interesting too. It's you can see there's baseboard around it, but actually the baseboard was added on. It was actually just flare out. I need to talk to you, Jackie, like exactly how much it flares out, because it was so routed. I couldn't see. I just measured it, and I think that's how much it flared.
Sure.
We can really go in detail about that. But the cap is pretty good, so that's the measurement. And the most interesting is the window casing.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know, Mr.
Did you take off any of it?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Where's the picture? It was here. Oh, here it is.
We're all curious.
Yeah, because Mr. Spratley was not there, because the trim was like really bulky. So last time when I drew this thing, and I was just like mimicking it, and I thought this is the ugliest trim I ever seen. But it's historic, so I'm going to follow it. And then Mr. Stonerock said is that it's covered in metal sheet
It's all
to
tacked.
protect the trim. They don't want to redo the trim. And then we pop all the metal up, and it shows
Wow,
the molding. So
that's a world of difference.
yeah, so we got the molding.
So you
So
did, right, and demoed, you see some
yeah,
stuff.
we measured it and joined it up. So that's going to be preserved. And then the front door molding, it's a little hard to see exactly where's where, and I probably need to later on to verify with you, because they insert another door in there. So, but this is all field measurements, and I'm very, very happy doing that, and it's really fun. That's what I want to say, and more. The elevation here, there's a little flare that we missed last time, that Zach pointed out to us, and we this time tried our best to capture it. And then the windows, and our historian said this is Italianate, right?
Italianate, yes.
Style.
True.
So I went to the guideline book, and then they tell us that the historic is 2/2 or 2/2 or 4/4.
That's
So
the
I was
Italianate
reading it.
period.
Right now they have 6/1, and then that's not right. So because they are all plastic insert, like a vinyl insert, so like this time we're gonna do it more correctly, and I think it looks pretty good. I think so.
And and thank you for the feedback. I think this looks better with the two than that. Yeah, I really think it looks better.
Yeah, and then our historian said that we need to have the flat porch.
Right, it's not flat now.
You correctly.
Yeah, it's fixed now.
The porch is flat. So because the porch is tilted, because the rod is tilted, and I thought it was pitched. So last time I drew it pitched, but I was corrected. It's flat. So it's flat this time. And then the one last thing that historian mentioned is this one is where is the
Oh, yeah, the
picture?
thing that had the overlay.
Yeah, it was like a double
trim.
hung
Right.
hiding behind the peak. So I also read the guideline. It said it's supposed to be like a fixed window in the attic. So that's what we're gonna do. And I hope I remember everything you told
I think you're doing a wonderful job.
us.
I think you have done a good job so far.
Okay. So
And
that's
it's really for you guys, and going back what the board members said about, I think we really wanted to do this preservation, but we didn't really depict it correctly the last time, right? It was there, the intentions were there, and we really didn't illustrate it specifically correct. And with going back and to reading the guidelines, and thanks to you guys and the historian, I feel like we finally can really put it on paper and really express our needs. So thank you.
The porch is not, the way you've shown in the rendering, the porch appears to be, what material? And is it sitting on the ground or is it raised?
Oh, you mean the wood?
It's gonna be a wood porch.
It's going to be wood.
And is it raised off the ground the way the current one is?
Not exactly. I apologize. Not exactly. It's going to be a little bit lower.
Well,
Yeah.
Is there a step currently? I forgot how.
There is a little step.
there are
there's a
steps
on
to
the
go
other
on
side.
there. It's
Yeah.
a
But
porch.
why would you do
Why
that?
would you do that?
Yeah.
That's not a good idea,
I think the renderer
Yeah.
didn't.
because really that is how the house presents from the bottom up. We need to keep the
And
Right.
it's a relationship of the
Being the
ground.
architect.
Absolutely. And I think the renderer,
That's the only.
It can't-
yeah,
Yeah.
I think he erred
You
here.
can't put it down there anyway, because it'll be rotten, just like the
Right.
one that you're
Yeah,
looking at now.
We'll make sure.
We'll correct this rendering.
the
I think he
footing-
kind of got it here, but this is an
What
error.
was the footing? Do
Yeah.
we have a,
It's gonna be a sauna tube with like a concrete, like a.
Yeah, yeah.
You dig a hole and you
footing,
pour a
yeah.
foundation,
Footing,
and then
okay.
a little post and a girder. So, and then after you're done with the decking board, you're gonna put a fascia, like a board over it, so you don't really see.
okay, that's great.
You actually just
Yeah.
see the board.
Okay,
So
okay.
it kind of looks like
As
that.
long as the relationship is maintained.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It look like that, but it is off the ground.
All right.
Not sitting in the dark.
So how big, so this doesn't have any numbers on it, but the relationship of what you're proposing as the extension to
Rebuild, yeah, the extension.
to the main historic building?
It looks still a little, more than a little bit like Wag the Dog.
Well, that field trip was great,
It was a great picture.
and I think all the historic stuff you've done is wonderful. What I, noticed in the field trip was that the 19th century or early 20th century editions were in fact subservient to the original.
Yeah,
Not only the flat roof, which you can like or hate, but the eave line is lower.
With subservient,
Yeah,
correct.
it's a foot. I mean, they vary, but they're lower, and I actually think you should maintain that. Just to
To be subservient.
Right, and we did here. That's why the one story.
the big wings, the two-story wings.
This one here.
Yeah, I think that's a perspective, right? Yeah, they line up now.
So there is a two-story behind the one story
Yes.
now.
That's right.
Existing. So are you commenting on the roof line here? This is subservient to the main house. This is subservient. This is
No,
below.
the eave line
The eave line.
on the drawing is the same. It's continuous with the old house.
This part?
yes.
Yeah.
Is this what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Miracle. Yeah, it's a continuous line, so it doesn't drop
It
down.
doesn't show a drop at all.
And we need it to drop down in order for it to be subservient.
No.
I think this is existing here.
I think you're talking about this ridge line here.
The eave.
The eave,
So-
down an inch and a half, the bottom of the roof.
Yeah.
Sorry.
this existing, right? It's lower. The old addition is lower than the historic addition. And I think the new addition should maintain that subservience.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so that's...
And it's not that big a drop, but it's a
And,
drop.
I understand, when you do that, you might get a lower ceiling, but you can conquer that by doing a tray ceiling. You can go up into the attic and do a tray, and which you can make the ceiling however how you want.
Okay.
The other thing I think too, again, in service to subservience, I think that you should not have gables on the addition. I think you should do hips. If you want roofs, I think they should be hips, so that the historic part has the gables, which are the tallest, and they
Right.
dominate the composition.
Right.
Hip or flat, right?
Hip or flat?
Could I see that again? The eve?
The eave, like this, right?
So
This is the new
eave
part, right?
comes down.
Oh, this is
Yeah,
what
we want
should
this-
do with-
Show.
he's saying this here,
So
the
this
eave,
should
like
be-
the,
yeah.
kind of like
Lower,
I agree with that.
lower.
This, and this.
And I think it should be a hip, just to, again,
This.
you know, because the gable gives it a lot of scale, it gives it height. And I think we want to distinguish. I think that's the whole point of this exercise.
Okay, and in terms of this height, so this is subservient, this
Oh,
would be okay?
I don't mind the
You
ridge
don't
at
have-
all.
You don't have the ridge?
The ridge is fine.
Okay.
The ridge is fine.
But what Mr. DeWitt is saying is that then you would get the space kind of back. It'll be low, but you maybe into the attic.
By tray.
Good tray.
Which page are we on? Just
A6.
A6, okay. A6, right, okay.
Here it dropped. This is the original. They need to recreate, no, this is the existing. Do you want it,
What he wants to do is this.
so how much of a drop down?
But more than that, I wanted to
So
start,
you just want to go
I
across?
wanted to start lower than the historic eave,
See, it's
like
more
the additions
Yeah,
are.
but here we are, the
historic
proposed,
right
so how are we
here.
doing this?
Somewhat lower.
That's what he's
Yes.
drawing.
Yes, exactly.
Well, doesn't that create,
It would create, yeah.
doesn't this create a valley in here?
This would go away.
What?
It would
I don't
create like a
design
value, maybe have
I'm
ice
not an
damming.
architect.
Oh, no, don't get ice damming. It's
It would,
storage.
Mr. DeWitt, would it create a valley when you lower it here? It would create a valley between the two structures.
Well, I think you can actually solve that with the roof. In fact, I know you can. And the other thing I think that would be nice is that, you know, where's the roof plan?
I don't think they,
To me, that's, I don't see that that's
you have a
that
roof
looks
plan
like
somewhere. I see it.
a facade gable, so
No, he wants me
here.
to do it.
there's the roof plan.
Yeah, okay. I find these very clumsy, you know, where you're pitching the roof to a point. And I think it would be better if you had a little hyphen. You know, pull this back, pull that back a bit, so that there was a drop in elevation. And then you don't have, and then there's room for an eave trough. You don't have the water going to a spout.
It goes into a trough.
It goes into a trough. And I'm quite sure you can solve that. The other thing that I appreciate the change
Right.
there, but I wonder if you might go a little further and treat it like an enclosed porch, not this architecture enclosed,
Right.
but you know, like a series of windows divided by piers, as if it were a porch that someone had enclosed at some time.
Okay, so maybe you're talking about maybe like a bay pop-out kind of?
No, I'm talking about the second floor sunroom at 172 South Main.
Oh, we need to write it down.
Can you do that first, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's a second Empire house. It's not the same style. But you have the same sort of, cross windows, the 2/2. And then it's an oval sunroom over the porch.
What's the place?
172 South Main.
Susan? 72 South
Yeah.
Main.
This is not good.
It's an oval thing over the porch. And they took the windows, the typical windows that are, in the
Susan.
bulk of the house, and they just separated them by piers. you know.
Okay, Peter, I don't think we can tell them how to do
No,
that.
I'm saying as an enclosed porch.
I know, but you're building the house for them, which is not.
I disagree. I think that the point is to make additions, new additions, distinguish them from the historic fabric.
We agreed with that. but
No,
I
and
just-
I'm saying perhaps we can achieve that
Like going to look at that property.
exactly, and see how they did it.
We're almost there.
I'm listening.
Yeah, we're listening. We're listening.
Well, I
Because
know,
you've
but-
guided us well so far, and I appreciate, everything. I'm still a little bit confused because these windows then will have to be a different proportion now. I was trying to keep it in the same because part of the interior guidelines was that the new addition should also be in massing, scale, and proportion to the existing structure. So this is why, these windows would be much smaller. And I don't want to get into a situation where,
I get it.
we're getting awkward
understand.
looking. So I would strongly see if you guys if it can be reconsidered on that factor. I really appreciate your comment, but I think it would create some issues in terms of the proportion to the the historical factor.
So,
Well, in essence, what you're doing is parroting the resource, and that's confusing too.
Well, so the guidelines, and correct me if I'm wrong, it says that it should be differentiated,
Yes.
from it.
Yes.
However, it should also be, I forgot the wording.
Subservient.
It's subservient, but it also said that it should also have the
Harmonic.
historic proportion or
Harmonic.
massing,
Massing.
in other words, in
Massing and
proportion to the
scale.
historical structure.
Proportion.
So that's why I kept, we added the panels on the window, and then we kind of kept the top window, we kept it almost similar size, so it doesn't look like what the board member represented last time was kind of an awkward square, peak kind of hole window.
But if you're looking at the elevation, you're seeing that in essence, it's almost the same size as the resource, and that's really what we're trying to avoid.
Okay,
That-
I understand.
So is there a way, yes,
But that is not in line with the historic structure. It's actually set back.
It's further
No,
back.
it is.
Further back.
That's good.
That is good.
Right.
It's much-
So I know it assumes like it's a line there, but it's
No, we see that.
It's
right. It's subservient.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
is there any way to bring it down somewhat, though?
It's only 8 feet.
Oh,
We're not
okay.
making it-
It would change the
not
window
It would change the
nice
window.
and
Okay.
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 It's not like,
Okay,
All right.
so now, I think some people do have some concerns about the amount of glass on the proposed rear elevation.
well,
What about these railings? Where'd they come from?
which way?
The railings on the
These are
front, the Woolley
decorative,
side,
yeah.
that they're decorative. They're not. It's not going to be a balcony or it's not going to be a youth terrace.
So what's the reference for that, though? Was that there?
It's
no,
no.
That's to distinguish the
To
other?
distinguish, I added that. That was the last minute addition after reading the guidelines to differentiate that this is a newer addition.
I don't know if that's a help, though. Nevertheless, how about all the glass? Board member?
They're all facing the rear yard, and
And
even from the Woolly Street.
there is no view of this at all.
See.
It's the view of the Woolly.
You wouldn't see any of this, or
Well,
even in your
but
addition.
that's
you
just
wouldn't see it.
landscaping. We got to see the house.
Yeah, but it's facing the backyard. It's not
backyard.
facing the Woolly
The
Street.
backyard is the Woolley Street front yard.
No.
No,
No, this
the
is
corner
West,
lot.
facing west.
Woolly's the
This is
side.
facing the back towards.
This is the only part facing
Yeah.
Woolley, yeah.
So
You
this
don't see any of this on
I'm
Woolley.
sorry, I showed you the wrong elevation. I apologize. This is the Woolly side. This is the Hampton Road side.
Right, I got that part.
Okay, the Hampton Road and the Woolly side. These are the two that's actually facing the
Oh,
street.
okay.
We're trying to have more, because I was reading the historic things like 20% of fenestration. So
And it looks
I'm
better.
trying to, I'm
does
trying
look
to
better.
not to add too many windows. You should
Yes.
ask him, he just keep on asking me to add more window. We added and we actually took them all out.
One more wall.
Yeah.
Is there a way to, you guys go,
No, I think, understanding that
in moderation?
it's a little, yeah, exactly, a little moderation. On the one side right here, I mean, it's like if you would eliminate those two and replace it with the siding, it makes it less overwhelming.
Intense.
But that's facing the backyard
I
though.
know,
I know.
but it's still, actually, the way the house is positioned, you can
Yeah,
still
you
see
can
the
see
back
it.
from the Woolly side, so.
If we took out the hedge,
Right, if you took out the hedge, absolutely.
yes, but that's what we have to work with.
You're talking about these,
I
right?
understand.
It's not a flag lot where you're trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
screen the car headlights.
I would be okay with this change if it makes the board
I
happy.
think he's right. I think that if you had one,
A
two,
little more wall in the back, I guess.
so
that's the
on
idea.
either side, is this a door, though?
That's, yes, a sliding door. It's,
Which one's the
You're
door?
asking us to remove these two.
they're asking for this one.
The two exterior, yes.
That would just somehow make it,
Does it
would
make it-
moderate the
More
glare.
wall.
I actually think that's a good change.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, we agree.
Can we make that notation?
Can we just mark
Yes.
it on the submission?
No, there's so much stuff going on here, and I really appreciate everybody putting in. I'm so, I wouldn't say confused, but I have to see that which they're going to build. There's the whole issue of the subservience and whether you pick up on Peter's suggestion to change the roof line to make it
What that looks like.
less, to make it more subservient, the notion of lowering the eve line. I mean, there are half a dozen things that have been brought up. Zach, I think, may want to weigh in. I don't know, I see, we haven't spoken about the chimneys. We haven't spoken about yet. We've only spoken about the main house. I've got issues with the additional buildings that are being put on the property. So there's a lot of work. So I appreciate the fact that you want to expedite it by just marking stuff in, but we're not at that point yet. So I want to manage expectations. You've done a great job and really have advanced, but there's still more to be done.
I do think we need to lower the,
So I apologize. I thought once we realized the window scale were going to be changed, et cetera, that we decided that the addition was okay.
No,
that is
Jason,
totally not what we decided.
well, I'm not sure, and this is the problem when we get into designing things. Okay?
Right.
We're not
We need to, I'm sorry, well,
We're criticizing.
all right.
Whatever.
We can talk about that afterwards. But we have to see the finished plans that you're going to submit to the building department for our approval.
Right.
And it's a process. It takes time. This house has been standing for 100 and some odd years. Another few weeks, I realize you may be paying a mortgage and everything else. That's really not our issue. But this is a process. This is a very historic house. I appreciate all the things that you've done to preserve it. Another few weeks is just part of the process.
Right, there are too many loose ends, I'm sorry.
I want to revisit the eave and the lowering the eave and the windows. If you made the frieze, which is the trim board beneath the eave, if you made that even with the top of the window, it would not change the window proportion, and you would have a lower eave.
Do you understand what the word is saying, Lucy? If you lower this part here below the historic factor, and you kind of come up with a hip, it would not affect that.
No, well, the hip is beyond. But just, you see how you got the space? You got the space between the top of the window and the frieze? Get rid of that space in the addition. That way you get the same window proportion, and you get the subservient eave level.
Okay. All right.
And you
And look,
keep,
at
and you
the end
keep
of
the
the day,
windows you want.
Jason,
Yes, go ahead,
you
sir.
have to present a design. Peter is very forthcoming, and
And
I
I
appreciate
appreciate it.
it
Thank you.
in terms of his suggestions.
Right.
You're designing this. You submit it. We have only two things we can do at the end of the day: approve or not approve.
I understand.
And so you've gotten a lot of suggestions. A lot of them have to do, if you think about the themes, there's a lot to do with subservience. There's a lot to do with not making it, look like a replica of everything else and distinguishing.
Which we-
all those things, and you're on that path.
You're doing it.
Right.
Okay.
And all our roof lines are subservient to the structure.
Well-
From every view, that main gable of the historic house is the dominant factor.
Okay, but you've had one member point out one detail.
Correct.
That brings to
Some-
question
Right.
whether or not the subservience is carried out and in the eaves.
Right.
Now, short of designing it, you go back, think of what he said in the
Correct.
context in which he said it, and then you make your design and come back. All right?
I would agree with that. But, I mean, I appreciate it. And we'll
Okay.
go back. If you can, Mr. Broadley, you said you had some concerns about other structures
Yeah,
on the house.
there's
Could you
a-
share that? So, I mean,
Sure. I don't know. Are we ready to move on beyond that?
Yeah.
We have purview in 116 over the structures and how they're placed and on the land in terms. It seems to me, and I'd look to Zach for some comment, that the structures that are being placed on that property, a garage, a pool house, I think just
That's just
those
that.
two. And this was a 19th century farmhouse for which, one, there wouldn't have been a pool other than maybe for the animals to drink out of something. So when I look at all those houses on that property, especially on a corner property, it as much as you've restored the main building, and I know you're going to be working towards keeping the addition subservient, that the addition of those two buildings bring it up, that detract from the historic nature of it.
Well, there was a garage there, and, if you can recall, that you guys approved the demolition of. So there was a garage there before.
Because it wasn't really old.
So,
It was a very old
It was
garage.
This is kind
No.
of above my pay scale, but the house dates from the 1870s, large house.
yeah,
It appears to have been enlarged as a boarding house, maybe by the end of the century. Then it got more wings off of that. So it's,
right.
but that was 100 years ago. So, now it's 2020, and as I said, it's not my job. I comment on the
History.
Right.
We can't recreate a theoretical farmstead
Right.
from the 19th century.
Right.
That's not what's happening here.
Right.
So I just feel that if the outbuildings, accessory buildings, are scaled and designed in a way that place them on the property, it doesn't overwhelm and challenge,
Right.
parking in the front yard and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That that's all within,
Right.
what can happen
Yeah.
to this property.
Yeah.
And it's my
Right,
own
okay.
feeling.
And the pool house is 100 feet away from
They're
the
quite
property.
small.
And they are small.
There's
Okay.
My
Okay.
only comment about the roofs, if I could just jump in while we're talking about it,
Yeah.
the one thing that I feel shouldn't happen here is another roof form being introduced to a Victorian era house. So we have gables and we have flat. I think those are kind of the only two architectural
That should be allowed.
choices. I think Peter suggested a hip, but a hip roof, now we're moving into the 1920s or 30s. It's just not Victorian era. I don't feel that that form is, even if it's tucked at the back, it's going to look discordant. I think that there's probably another gable
Yep.
flat
Yep,
something.
yeah.
There's going to be more.
I think flat would be great.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
that's my only.
Good.
As long as you understand the issue, that's really, it's yours to take it
I'm
from there.
trying to, yeah. I'm trying.
My comment was based on not having more gables on the addition. That was just one way, but I agree, I think flat would be better.
That would be great.
All right,
There is a.
All right, so
you want an adjournment?
please, if you don't mind. And if there's
Okay.
any more comments, because, again, I said,
I
do
think you
understand.
got plenty of comments,
Right. I just had, okay,
and our council thinks so too.
right. So, Zach, just, I had one question. I wasn't on the tour, but I see that the chimneys are removed. I tried to look through the house today to see if, in fact, there were actual fireplaces. It looked like there might have been a stove going up to a flue. So what's your feeling in terms of the historic nature?
This is the weirdest thing about the house.
It doesn't connect to anything.
Weird.
So I personally don't think you need some
I know
ghost
you feel
chimneys.
a little strange for a Victorian house not to have chimneys.
Yeah.
However, this house didn't have fireplaces. So
Stoves.
Must have been mighty cold.
the chimneys were quite small, brick, and they
Flue.
had stoves, I think, from the very beginning. So in 1870, that was, or that might have been a function of the modernizing for the boarding house thing. We don't really know. But we didn't go through for this application, but when this was on your agenda,
100, yeah.
I had the opportunity to go through it, and I was amazed to find that it had no conventional fireplaces. It was all
Okay.
heated stoves.
Okay,
Kind of go
So
nowhere.
It's
like, yeah.
a weird.
okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Good. You answered
All
my
right.
question. Thank
Less
you.
to maintain.
So did we actually vote on this?
No, they're coming back with their plans.
Right, no, I meant vote for them to come back.
Please have us back.
Okay. So we'll see you next time.
Go ahead, Lucy, I'm sorry.
Lucy, you did a good job.
Yes, and I'm in New York City now, so Lucy actually did the climbing and everything. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lucy.
Lucy, thank you.
She came with like hedge clippers for the grass. She was really right down with it. It was impressive. I loved your approach.
Okay.
I was really, it was something I
So
wish I
this would be on
videotaped it.
August 24th would be
That's
the...
correct.
Okay.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Thank you all for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you very much.
Was there a motion?
Oh, sorry.
That's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Motion to approve applicant Jason Kahn's request for an adjournment until our next meeting on August 24th.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Stay safe,
Thank
everyone.
you. I know it was a lot of work.
That was.
Well done.
Next, Golden Manor LLC, 16 Gin Lane, window replacements.
Lucy, do you need some help? I believe that's the historian.
Oh,
Is that
the
yours?
house is like my
Is that
house.
yours over there? Lucy, is that
I
yours?
think that's his.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's been
Thanks
sitting
very
there.
much.
Good night, guys. I think
It was a major change from the
Major,
first time around.
Yeah, no, yeah.
If Peter and I were going to take a molding comb, and she did it.
Folks, don't forget we're on video.
Let's see what Waldoon.
Oh, are they not there? No, Zach went.
doing it.
But we can't, I mean, really, poor Zach. We need a better situation.
This was a total surprise to me.
That's two of us. We don't count, obviously. I asked today, too. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, John and David.
Where'd Zach go? We need him. Okay. Your name, please?
For the record, John David Rose, architect, located at 596 Hampton Road. So, sorry, let me just put this out here. So at the last ARB meeting on 7/27, my presentation was based on incorrect information that I obtained from the historic archives. You may recall that those documents that I had stated it was a non-contributing building at 16 Gin Lane. We now know that it was mislabeled, that it's actually, or at the time, was 339 Gin Lane. The building was shown on the 1926 Sanborn maps. That building was demolished, and then in 1931, the pool house was constructed. But this application is for replacement of windows, and I want to get to the point, and the night's getting old, I'm sure. I have a letter from a builder, JJK Construction, who is the builder who did Windicote and Sunnymead. Counselor, would you like this?
Sure.
I think there's an extra.
There's enough to go around.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Is anyone stamping? I'll
Thank
stamp
you.
it. One of these needs to go in the file. This isn't the right stamp.
As I said, John Kronkowitz did the Windicote and the Sunnymead project for me. And in that letter, he clearly states that the windows, all of the windows in doors need replacement. I have pictures of, probably it's best to put it on the screen. So it shows up. Is that correct?
You know, we can really see this deterioration.
It's
So here it is here.
Which can you explain which elevations those particular images came from?
I could not tell you exactly where these come from, but I can tell you that the deterioration, although there are some units that are okay, it's almost everywhere, and it shows up on the inside. And I don't believe you went inside.
No, we didn't.
These windows are made out of oak, and oak's not a great unit to use on the inside and outside. Normally, if it wanted an oak finish, we'd do a split finish. The outside would be made out of mahogany or something like that. It absorbs the water and it goes through. But this is typical of what's happening.
But
Because John's making a case, because somebody says it and we've inspected it, doesn't mean you have to accept it as fact.
We know that.
He's making a case. That's
And
all.
by the way, the owner would gladly open it up the inside to you at any time.
Well, we're only
Okay.
concerned with the outside, John, as you know.
So what I also have here is a set of plans from 1955, when all the windows were replaced in the building. You can take a look at these plans here, and you'll see numbers on all the windows and doors. And it goes through the floor plan, and it coincides with the window schedule. I don't have the window schedule, probably could be produced, but this shows you. And this was when they added the wings to the east and the west.
Okay.
Okay.
And is this when the thermopane units were introduced?
This is when the correct, that's exactly when they
Because I
were.
was questioning when thermopane was invented.
Invented,
That was a
yeah.
whole other
That's a,
research project.
Early 90s, I think, is when it started. But the interesting thing about this is that these are individual divided lights. And now we'd use an SDL, which was a simulated divided light, but these are actually individual pieces of glass, which is why there's the failure, or one of the reasons. The mutton bar is 1 inch wide. As per your suggestion, I went to meet with Mary Cummins from Southampton History Museum. I just want to tell everyone that she's wonderful.
Is she?
And I go to the museum often, and everybody should go there. The information was great. So I have several photographs that she was able to give me. One of which is, and I think that this is in your as well, and I don't know if you can see that.
Well, it's pretty hard.
It
There
is
we
pretty
go.
hard, and it's not terribly important because the next photograph will just give you an idea where it came from. Because I showed this last time, and the question was,
Yeah.
where did it
when?
come from? It was given to me by the client, and as you may recall, I'll put that down as well. This is of the west elevation that shows no muttons. And if you look closely at this picture right here, and this is from, can't read it upside down, from 63, a garden party of sorts, that's the building in the background. So that just confirms that in 63, this is what this building looked like. You can see there's the 2 canopies here. I was given this picture by the client, and you rightfully asked, where's the rest of them? I don't have them. Nor did I have any real reference to the building, other than it certainly looks like it before they did the addition, the wing. But now we found in the Newsday article that this is, you can almost make out the furniture.
So what is the drawings are 55, 1955?
These drawings?
Yes.
No, these drawings are 95.
95. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said 55.
No.
Yeah, I did too.
You
Sorry.
did.
I did
It's the
too.
mask. 1995, and they go with when the windows were put in.
The windows with the mullions.
The current windows that are now,
But are you claiming that there were never mullions in these windows?
I'm not claiming, but I can't prove one way or the other.
Because there's
There's a book, Ann Searchin, book on the Hamptons.
Yes.
Shows photographs of the trainer exterior, and I didn't find that until looking in my library.
That's House in the Hamptons.
Yes.
Yes, yep. Yep, I have
that
that.
has mullions, right?
These have mullions,
Here's that article out of the House in the
yeah.
Hamptons.
And it also has the OG arch over the doorway.
So I also have, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I also have 4 interior pictures, which you didn't get a chance to go in, of the living room windows.
No, we pulled those from the outside. We were on the porch.
And you'll see that there are no muttons in those.
Right. But it was our observation, and these are on the ocean facade as well.
Ocean and Bayside, which is the main original block of the house.
Correct. But it was our observation that these were likely replaced because they are thermopane units, so they're not historical.
They're all replaced.
Well, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about these. I'm saying that these 4 solid pane, thermopane units are clearly not historical.
Right.
There's a question in my mind why some of the others are,
Thermopane as well, and you're explaining when that happened. Evidently in '95, they put all new windows in. So if I could just jump in,
The issue now isn't the history of casement window replacement at 16 Lane. The question is, if there is a legitimate reason to replace them again, number one, what should the style be, number two, and that style should be what is historically most appropriate to the building. And I feel that the original structure was built to emulate the colossal pile that's now gone, that was out on the lawn, the Tudor house. And that's what the early photographs show it to have been. And then actually over the years, people that have enlarged this building have done it in a rather sensitive fashion. It's gone in all directions, but they've emulated that architectural vocabulary. Now we're discovering, interestingly enough from your drawings, John, that evidently all of those windows were placed in 1995, which explains why they're all Thermopane.
Right.
But they were doing what this board would want to do now, which is to emulate the style of the original,
And
not to upgrade it to something else
altogether.
for whatever purpose. So I think it's a design, it's first of all, it's a structural question for me, because I didn't see the failure that you're talking about, but I'm not an engineer. And secondly, from a design standpoint, I don't think that those long blank windows are complementary to the
With a fuzzy
revival style.
Victorian.
I didn't bring the book because I figured you would have found it, but showing the photographs that are included in Ann Surgeon's book, it shows casement windows with,
So
You can
to-
have that.
and I actually have that.
Oh, you have it.
I'm gonna show you in a minute.
Yes, they're all
So,
they all do.
to your
on
point,
that.
if this building was replicating what was there, how do we know that wasn't there?
We're looking at the
We're
early,
looking at the photographs from Ann Surgeon's book that came,
looking at the earliest documents.
So they made the change to this style.
In 1995. I get it.
So
But what,
additionally, if I could, I'm just about done. So when I looked at Woolden Manor,
is that in
some
the file?
photographs that I got from Mary Cummins, here is, and I've circled the one in particular. That's kind of an important one, if we could zoom in on that. Because as we've said, both houses of the Hamptons and the Southampton cottage of Gin Lane say that the pool house matched the main residence stylistically. Houses of the Hamptons states that Woolden Manor had leaded glass. Number one, I'd like you to just take a look at the size of the panes in this window and all of these windows. It's a completely different proportion than the guest house or the pool house. The pool house, these are square, and I'm not saying I necessarily like them, they're square, and on the pool house, they're very tall and skinny.
well, Society architects, Lazio and Trainer, who were quite significant of the time, were hired by Jesse Woolworth Donahue to complement the existing, which is no more. And when you look at the photographs from that era, they're multi-pane windows. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're looking at early photographs of the property, not the one that got blown up.
So, in this sketch here, and this is my last drawing, an important one, if we could zoom in on that. What we did, this is the west elevation, taken from this set of documents here, from 95, and we blew up that one particular window and put it into AutoCAD. Remember, it said that the main building had leaded glass. So I did a quick calculation comparing two identical windows. This window, which is 1 foot 3.5 by about 5'10" high. Just this one piece of glass. One has, they're both the exact same size. One has leaded glass and one has the 1-inch wooden muttons. We use the west elevation window. The leaded glass mutton's 5/16 wide, historically, give or take. The wood mutton's an inch. The wood mutton window has 1.1 square foot less glass than this. This one has 1.1 square foot less glass than that one. Just that piece right there. So when they went from in theory, leaded glass to the wood muntins, they reduced in each one of these 1.1 square feet of glass. Because of, and that's not talking about the depth, that's width only.
But
So, John, so the purpose of this project is to bring more light into the house?
One of,
So, I don't live there, so I don't know how dark it is, but the facade that you're referring to is the present west facade?
that was the facade
The
in
one that you-
95. This one here?
Yeah.
95.
Because that's a new addition
Yes.
to the original house.
Yes.
So, as I said before, I feel that generally speaking, the massing and the detailing of the 2 or 3 additions that have been built did a pretty good job extending out on the architecture of the original. Now we're faced with the predicament that you've discovered, which is that all the windows were changed. Okay? So if there's a reason to change them now, it's not an opportunity to change the architectural effect of the house to bring more light inside. It's, unfortunately, you have to live with the Tudor revival on the ocean. So I think that's what the house is.
As is, yeah.
That's the same as saying, well, the roof lines are not what we like.
With
I
all
mean,
due respect,
it
it's
is
nothing
the
like that
house.
at all.
Yeah. I
If
just
we
feel
agree
that's
that the
house.
original building had leaded glass in it,
No, I don't see that.
No,
at
we
all.
don't know, but
You know,
at least it was
you'll never know.
multi-pane.
You'll never know.
well,
because
it says,
it's wrong.
says in this, which is the houses of the Hamptons,
Yeah.
that the main house had leaded glass.
Does it say that the pool
But it
house-
doesn't say the pool house.
So what we're saying is we're surmising that the architects who come along 30 years later to design a lovely little pool house to complement the big pile that's still sitting there on the lawn, they designed something in that style, but that's not giving us, if there might be somewhere building specs for the actual construction of that. So perhaps they were leaded, perhaps they had actual wooden muntins, but either way, it was the style that they were emulating or repeating from the main house. So whether that was achieved in leaded glass or in wooden muntins does not strike me as being kind of material here. It's a style thing, not a material thing. The effect from a distance, and you only get in there when the gate's unlocked, so it's at quite a distance, is the same. It's a Tudor revival style house, and those are the kinds of windows that if our eyes were closed and we were asked to visualize what the house might look like, that's the image we'd come up with, not plate glass windows. It's just discordant from a design standpoint.
And the windows that are on your plan, we only, because it was pouring down rain, we only stood under the porch on the south elevation. But we were looking at north elevation, excuse me. But we were looking at plans, we were looking at windows that showed groupings of 4, and we were looking at plans that showed groupings of 3 windows instead.
Yes,
So there was
absolutely.
a plan to change the numbers of windows, and the same plan also showed a trabeated door rather than an OG arched door, which is shown clearly in the answer.
Absolutely. Remember that my last application, we thought it was a non-contributing building because village records said that. So we're here to have a different discussion.
Okay.
I'm not suggesting single glazed unit.
Okay.
What I am suggesting is that we really don't know how to explain that or that.
We have nothing to approve if we don't have a drawing of what you're looking for.
Well, understand that I just got Zach's report
Yeah.
this morning. So
Oh.
I've not had a chance to talk to the owner.
Okay.
So we had the meeting, and I thought I would at least
Oh,
come and
okay.
show you what we have.
What you discovered, good,
But
okay.
I think the rationale is, since we're the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation, that we're not, if you're going to change the windows, we don't really get behind changing the windows to the 1995 rendition of the windows, because they were, or whatever. But if we have evidence, like photographs, of what was originally in there, and you're changing the windows, I think perhaps that has to be honored. Does that make sense?
I'm actually a little confused, though.
Well, I'm
not. I saw the
I'm
picture.
confused as well. So we went out on a site visit with plans that didn't reflect what was there. We have an argument about leaded windows with buttons, without buttons, and the logic seems to me to be very simple. It's a Tudor Revival house. It was purposely constructed as such. In 1995, they replaced windows with a different material but kept the buttons to retain the Tudor Revival. And
They took out some buttons.
And the plan.
It was all this
Right.
way.
And the plan I saw from you, which is not the plan I think I hear you saying you're not going to present anymore, was for straight pane glass windows. If that's not the plan, we've just spent a lot of time talking about stuff for you to come back next 2 weeks from now with a plan that shows actually what you do plan on doing.
Well, it's certainly helpful to get the board's input.
Gotcha.
And recognize once again that we just got the report today.
Okay. No, I
We're
got
not
you. No, I'm not
faulting you, we
criticizing
just
you.
we don't want to, we can't go along with it just to humor
Yeah,
you, that's all.
I'm not saying we wasted time. That's probably too critical. It's always a pleasure talking to you because you do great work. And I think what we're saying here is we like to see a design that is consistent with the style of the house, that it looks like in several generations of ownership of that house, all the owners have tried to keep that, and it appeared to us from the design you submitted last time that you're asking us to
Correct.
throw that out, or
Correct.
in this sense, throw it out the window to replace it with other windows.
And since we didn't have anything else to look at, that's what we were going.
And that's why I wanted to
Okay.
just tell you what I had.
That's cool.
I would like to
We're
answer the
cool.
one question about the number of units.
Uh-huh.
Because it was twofold. It was light, but and although we are not forced to do it, it's second means of egress. From bedrooms, none of these windows meet the egress requirement. Now, when you're renovating a historic structure, you don't have to meet the energy code or the egress code. I kind of like to keep things safe when I can, and if what you do to the second floor, if one said, well, you could do it to the bedrooms, then it messes with the cadence on the lower level as well. So it was an attempt to meet egress. Once again, that application is out.
Yep.
But we're here today to show you it's not really black and white because there's still windows. And to your point, if they copied what was there, well, then why wasn't that there? I mean, I understand there are pictures showing all sorts of different things. And then if I could just end with your picture that you gave me here, they could zoom in on this. This is the actual building. This was removed, knocked down in the hurricane of '38. Look at the scale of these windows right here.
Can you get closer? Thank you.
You'll see the scale of those windows right there are similar to the scale of those windows, which are nothing like the windows that are there now.
What is the date of this photograph? We don't know.
It was prior to 38.
It's before
basically.
38 because the building, the
This is a-
enclosed pool is still there.
Supposed to be a postcard that's close to what it's original. But that section of little square windows is no longer there. I think that's an area that's been removed and.
Correct.
Right?
But to my point is,
And that
that
looks like
section
an
there
enclosed-
is similar in scale to the original
What are the
building.
front-facing,
It's very hard to see.
well,
I've not found any.
okay.
Sorry. So I want to thank the board for going out there on a rainy day, especially with
It
the
was really,
pandemic.
parts of the trim on that house was amazing, and the gutters.
It's a great house.
It's a
It's a
beautiful
great
house.
house, it just needs some love.
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to go deeper into the repair, but I'll be honest with you, I've done a few of these houses before. They need to be replaced. This is very typical. And I don't think you would see it. from the-
Again,
I'm not saying we're
if the
arguing.
owner wants to spend the money to replace the windows, that's their prerogative. We are only asking that they essentially replace them in kind with the same design. I think
No,
we're not,
I'm not.
okay, I don't know.
Those were ones that
All
were
I know
from
is-
another time. Who knows?
Okay.
We need to go back to the photographs of what was there, which seems to me to be multi-pane windows throughout. And not, some of these things, I don't know. I need a chronology of the photographs. We need like real proof.
You can see the confusion.
I'm not confused. I'm not confused.
I'm
Maybe,
fascinated by the Regency
So then
things,
how
but
do you
they're gone.
explain this one and those four there?
Because they've been subsumed, I'm assuming, by the new wings. The Regency ones facing the pool, I suspect they were subsumed by the addition.
So were you thinking that they only did this on one side of the house?
Possibly facing the pool that makes some
And then they did
logical sense.
maybe something like that somewhere else?
It's all guesswork.
It is.
we don't know.
It is absolutely guesswork.
But it's later than what we should be looking at, but fascinating.
One of the sticky issues, I would love to do lead windows, but
Well-
to make them rated and impact, it's difficult. And the problem is that the tape, now what they do is they do an insulated with a synthetic tape on the
Yeah.
outside. It just, I haven't found it holds up on the ocean. It's a tough environment. Because
Well-
that, and not to mention the budget, but that's not an issue here.
I don't think so.
We don't bring that up, but obviously it's double the price.
All right, well, we need,
So-
I would need to see
Yeah, what can I give you to,
more a chronology, the earliest possible photographs of the building
Well,
and
I
windows.
believe are the searching ones.
The searching ones, and then if you want to present like a chronology that maybe people wanted to see, I do feel that if you replace the windows, that you shouldn't replace them with the 1995 idea of what the windows should have been, that's all.
If there's more documentation.
Yeah, that, to me,
Well, what
and
I'm
you could make
confused
an
about
argument, you know,
His daughter is still alive.
is the design. What I saw 2 weeks ago was straight, no
Single light windows.
single pane casement windows.
yes.
I don't know what the heck you're presenting now.
We don't know what's being proposed,
So-
but there's nothing to talk about
All
from my
right, so-
perspective.
so let's just get an adjournment, how's that, John?
Yes.
And I think, what I said before is, I see a Tudor-style house, I expect to see Tudor-style windows, very simplistic from this board member.
All right, motion to approve applicant's request for an adjournment to our next meeting on August 24th for Woolden Manor LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Great.
Thank you.
Okay, good night, John. Next,
Hi, John.
412 First Neck Lane LLC, 412 First Neck Lane. Construct two-story addition to dwelling, reconstruct sunroom and screen porch, construct detached garage and two storage buildings. Yikes, another sticky wicket.
Fazio's daughter is still alive.
Beg your pardon?
Fazio's daughter is still alive. I almost bought her book. I mean, I don't know
We'll
what,
look anywhere, as per your suggestion.
no, I just I don't know where his archives are. I tried to find
We'd love to
them.
find some
Yeah,
quality pictures as well.
I tried to look for them, hoping I could hit pay dirt too.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Take care.
Please come forward, state your names.
Kirk Lehman, Richard Asarma, A&L Architecture. Apologize, our board's got a little crinkly outside.
Sorry
So
about
humid.
that.
Is it so humid?
It is.
Oh, it never ends. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
That's pretty, what time is it? 9:30. Long
The
night.
affidavits,
Did they?
Yes,
who's the,
I have a stamp. Can someone just write,
Did they tell you that the
date.
last person presenting has to buy a
it
round?
says.
okay.
wrong time. It has the
If
wrong
only we
date
could go
posted
somewhere
out.
and drink.
Yeah,
It says-
okay.
Nice, huh?
What else is new?
That's what
They
it's
are
like.
absolutely lit.
Okay.
Yes.
Don't know if you had a chance to look at the drawings. There are 4 items we are looking for approval for tonight. One is an addition to the house. One is the reconstruction of a sunroom that was built in or about the 80s. A third one is a reconstruction of a screen porch roof, where we want to do a copper roof. And the fourth is a detached garage and storage sheds out beyond the tennis court. So the addition to the house, we kept it in the style of the main house. It is actually rotated from the axis of the main house. It's rather small in comparison to what we could do on the property. We're still 9,000 square feet below on our GFA. The total square footage of the addition is about 2,400 square feet total on both floors. There is no finished basement in this house because of the groundwater with the lake, and that's really the main reason for this addition to the house. They want to have a gym and exercise room that most people would do in a basement. The sunroom currently is kind of diagonal, has aluminum storefront kind of windows in there, and our client really wants to bring it back to the historical feeling and character of the house, so we are proposing the coining and bricks and a copper roof above that, and the same roof system on the screen porch. The detached garage is also brick, in keeping with the whole estate. With the sister house, it's very similar, the house just to the south, and brick. And we're doing a pergola with reclaimed timbers, which is also used on this house in a large amount, and wood shingle roof, brick, matching the existing windows.
I'll pitch in. The garage, which breaks up its massing and is built of brick and lacks a lot of historical design, to me is a very good design.
Thank you.
The addition, on the other hand, I find is not as successful in that the use of the dormer windows and the coins, I think are ultimately confusing to the historic resource. And in particular, the dormer windows appear to be very large in comparison to the resource. On the main building, you'll find dormers straddling between. I realize there's a roof to wall difference between the main building and your addition, but many of the dormers straddle between the masonry and the roof on the historic resource, and these I find are larger in scale than anything on the actual resource.
So they're actually the same size as the dormers you're referring to on the back of the house. The difference is the eave line on the back of the house is higher, and it's broken by that. And we wanted to keep the massing of this structure lower. Therefore, our eave line is down at the first floor as opposed to a story and a half. And it's actually an exact
It is
copy.
the same.
It is. It's the
Because
same window
the
size.
smaller of the two looks to be about the right scale, whereas the triple window looks giant. But I guess that's a perspective.
Well, the double window units are identical. The triple window is because there's a larger space in the center of the thing. So the triple is slightly larger, but that is the only element on the roof.
And in linear footage,
What page are you on?
I'm looking at
ADD 2?
5 and 2.
Right. So you were talking about the dormers on the extension.
Yes.
Right. And you're saying you, Kirk, are saying that they're the same size as the one on the house.
But they just look bigger.
They look bigger, but you're saying something about a triple window?
There's
That's
one
on
triple
here.
one on the
One
west.
triple on ADD 5
Oh, on the back of
The west elevation.
on the west elevation.
West elevation, okay, I understand it. On the west elevation, okay.
And in linear feet, can you give me the
length of the building?
29, something like that?
The overall length of the addition? The overall length is just 55 feet.
And the length of the addition with the connector?
At the front with the connector, it's an additional about 7 feet, which is not dimensioned on here.
What is the, so, I'm sorry.
So the
The main
main
house, the structure that is now there is how long?
I don't know that I
There's
have.
no numbers on these things. I'm just guessing, but it looks pretty long.
I would say that the
50.
main house, if I had to guess, is about 110 feet long. That
And
is just a
then
guess.
your addition is
54.
50?
54.
Yeah, so it's half.
It's about half. It's,
Yeah, it looks
it's a
to the eye.
It's a sizable
Addition.
length. And above all, when you look at how the main house is broken up with the smaller.
Right.
There's two things that are kind of mitigating the length of that. One, I don't know if you had a chance to visit the property, but there's a garden wall that exists in front of the house that separates the main part of the house from the service part of the house, and that really breaks up the massing. And then the second thing is the rotation, we feel, and the open air connector. It's not just a continuous addition, you know, it really has a bit of breathing room there because we didn't want to encumber the existing house. And I think with the garden wall and the service court that's created on this side, it really maintains the existing main part of the house.
Kirk, are all the trees that are there staying there? I wasn't sure,
So
but by the landscaping, it looked like there might be two of the trees closest to Lake Agawam might be staying, but then it looked like the two almost equally sized trees might.
Correct. So there's about a half a dozen trees. The larger, older species are staying, and they're closer to Lake
Yeah.
Agawam. You are correct about that. There are two Zacovas, which are of a mature size, that
Yeah.
have to be taken down.
But that'll be on the west side. Part of my issue was, or concern, is the amount of glass, the collection of glass facing Lake Agawam. I agree with you that the courtyard wall does break up the massing on the front. My concern is what might be visible from Lake Agawam, with or without trees. And that I get this sense, especially knowing that it's going to be used as a gym, it's going to appear like a gym's been attached to this beautiful Norman-style house that has a lot of vertical lines. And then we have this addition that's 50% of the original house that appears to be longer and more earthbound than the Norman style is thematically created to represent. And so that's where I have a bit of a discontinuity. I'm glad to hear that the dormers were in fact the same size, because on this it looked like it. I'm not sure how you replicate or keep more of that. I'm just expressing a concern that my fear is that it may look like a glass gym on Lake Agawam.
Well, I think it's really imposing, actually, when you look at the span of all the, if it's connected to the other house. There's nothing.
And by adding historic tropes, if you will, I think it just confuses it even more by having the coins and adding coins and then having a long expansive glass. I think they cancel each other out, if you will. I would prefer no coins.
Okay. You know, in terms of the open wall glass, it's set back 230 feet from Lake Agawam, and there's also these larger trees, and there is a development of a landscape plan that's happening there as well.
Yeah, well, we can't actually, we have to look at the building, not at the landscaping, okay? And I find that in looking at, this is ADD2, the overall east elevation, that because of the amount of glass, even maybe the connector.
Yeah, that-
Yeah.
I feel like
Combination
something's
makes it
really
just
going awry here. That it's overpowering the incredibly beautiful house. That is a beautiful place. I was amazed by it.
And the
And
connector,
it's clunky.
Well, excuse me, the original house, the same width is divided into three, like the main house block.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Divided in three, with the roofs. I understand you're doing this in the walls. So it just, the scale is
Too big.
too big for what exists. The other thing I wonder, to help reduce the scale, a suggestion only, maybe, that this house, the gables are more features. He tends to put gables on the smaller projections. Would a hip help on the garage? Would that, it's a question.
You mean the hip, or
Again, instead of having the gable ends,
the garage, or the?
sorry, the addition, the gym. The house is characterized by hip roofs, except for these little projections, these smaller gables.
These peaks, yeah.
Yes, these small. So I wonder if perhaps if that were hipped, it would be more diminished. It might blend better. The other thing is the double dormers are fine, but can you get the walls flanking them, the side walls of the dormers thinner so that they are more like the
resource?
Yeah, the existing ones, yeah.
We can absolutely look at that.
Yeah. And then the other on the street, on the west elevation, I agree that the triple is just too big. I don't mind, I understand that the charm of the original is the window straddling between the wall and the roof, but it is nice that the addition has a lower E-line.
Yes.
So I think
that helps with the massing.
Yeah.
But how about,
in lieu of, I'm looking at ADD 2, and I'm looking at the left-facing side, which would be the south side, and you have some pretty large windows there, those sort of door-like window, floor to ceiling. I guess, why wasn't that carried through to this addition? Or could it be carried through to the addition, to break up the glass?
well, one thing is the sunroom over here.
Yeah,
That's the biggest window kind of thing that
right.
they have.
And that's,
And this
and
thing
that's
is-
to Kirk's credit.
this is
That's what
dwarfed
they
by
want
this.
to
By the
bring
addition.
back to what it was.
That's cool, but if you look at the size of that and the scale of it in comparison
Yeah.
to the fenestration on the first
Right.
floor of the east elevation and the connector,
Yeah.
I feel that those are like weighty and
Yeah.
too big,
A lot of glass. Is that what you're
because
saying?
they become the main fenestration feature on the first floor, if you want to know the truth. In fact,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
guess
pretty massive. So I think on the west elevation, I don't have a problem. But the east elevation, I have a big problem. I just find, I know they want to have like a lot of light and all of that, but this is just too much. And I also think that the connector somehow seems to, if you just had the glass connector and then you have another set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 big windows, and probably there's doors that it just can't tell which is which. It's not in proportion in any way. In fact, it becomes the main proportion of the fenestration on the east elevation, which is not a good thing to me. I could live with the rest of it.
The triple window, I have a problem with, and I think Peter's idea of reducing the scale, perhaps, of the masonry sides of those dormers might
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
might make them look
But
less.
what about the other part? Do other people have trouble with the, this is facing the lake. On the addition, this
The big,
My
big,
biggest sticking point is the windows on the east elevation. I just think it's overwhelming, and also it detracts from the
yeah.
main house.
the main
Well,
house.
that's what I think, but, we're looking at a drawing, but still,
There are some renderings. I don't know if you had a chance to see those as well. You get a pretty good view.
Well, it shows that
where are the renderings?
that they're
Are
too
these color?
they're too
That they're
similar in
intact.
the rendering. to the resource.
I like the plan, I like the plan very much.
I'm not crazy, really. You might think so, but I'm not. I don't see that I have
So
that.
there's 2 pages of renderings that show.
I have
the
one page of
Let's see, we got-
color.
we got
I have
one-
the garage.
One page, which is the garage, DG5.
Is there a 6?
Yeah, there's 2 full.
We didn't get this. Let's see.
I have 2 pages of render.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
We got, some of us got it and some of us didn't.
Okay, the back of the house.
Yeah, I know, but, I don't think Jeff and I got that.
Make a big difference when you look
They
at the
ran out of Xeroxes.
placement of the angle of the house.
Yeah.
Oh, here, no,
No,
I don't get it.
The rendered
I don't know
elevation.
if you want to.
Well, just leave it down.
I got the.
You know, in all fairness, Kirk, the rendering doesn't dissuade me
No, it
from
makes it worse.
Well, I just wanted you to have the.
And the dormers look giant in the rendering.
Yeah, it's too bulky, it's too
bulky.
big.
It's too bulky.
I think that the attempt to separate it is a good idea, is good, but it's heavy. And the thing about that house is that it's not.
It's so light.
Even though it's made out of
and fresh.
wacky brick and mortar. It's an amazing,
Could you make the height of it, the height of the northern wing of the main house? There's a gable,
yeah, that's facing north.
yeah, there's a gable facing east.
This one here.
The little one?
No good. Yeah, exactly. Could maybe maybe this should be more like that, should be lower. If this,
Yeah, I mean,
depart from this size pavilion.
Because you step down.
Yeah, it's stepping down the house.
You
on
step
purpose.
down, the main resource steps down, and then this thing comes up
Yeah.
radically.
That would make a big.
Well,
I'm sure they don't like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I think if this were your point of departure, maybe it would be more in scale. The other thing is, the theme of the evening, which I don't know if we're supposed to talk about, is the black windows.
If you think they are out of harmony,
I was just going to say, Jeff,
with
will you
the
look at all the windows,
neighbor
all the white mullioned windows? Just like in Toilsome, no black windows in that row of 7.
Yeah,
All right, well, I don't think we're going to get this straightened out tonight as it's going. I don't think people I think people like the garage, is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
garage is
And the 2
fine.
storage things.
And if you
But
look at
the addition is overbearing, I think people feel, and maybe too tall, and that the windows, I personally, I'm speaking for myself here, I feel are overbearing and become,
distracting.
well, they become like the main feature of fenestration on the facade, on the east facade.
Right.
And that's not a good idea.
There's
It's
such a
supposed to be
departure from the.
subservient, and instead we've got this whole other window bank situation, dormers and first floor windows. And I personally am not against the glass connector if that were the only feature like that. But then you're having another thing that's just like it,
More glass.
that recreates what I feel is a problem.
Okay. So the main issue, the dormers, we can look at, and the large opening in the exercise room,
And the
And the
height.
height.
and the height.
Because, that is 50%.
That's big.
Yeah, that's big for an addition. Most historic buildings don't get a big 50% addition. We're willing to listen to this, but it just can't be so overbearing, I think is really what I'm saying.
And I think we didn't talk about the sunroom reconstruction. Everything we said about the addition, I think, applies there. The vast expanse of black mullion glass.
Are you recreating the old one?
No.
Well, what's there now is
Oh, I know,
very
that's
large,
terrible.
very large picture windows.
Yeah,
So
that's
this is certainly a much of an improvement
Yeah.
for that area. And the roof, and we're also making it narrower and a
it's-
smaller footprint so that we can pull it off of the coining that's happening in the living room and dining room wings.
Yeah, I'm not so sure the existing is worse, frankly. I mean, I know it's modern, but, we like to distinguish, right?
I think applying coins to something that's a new creation is probably not so hot either,
Oh, but it's on the main building.
but it wasn't there.
I don't know what was there.
I'm sorry, but I think, I believe the sunroom, the width of the opening is not the domestic scale of the individual openings in the rest of the house, and it resembles a garage door.
What they're proposing, or what's there?
The proposal.
What's there is kind of like
On REN,
1980s version of what was cool. You know, where you'd have a cocktail. It's just a, I don't
big.
actually mind, but it's also not exactly in good shape. So I don't have a problem with that, but others may.
If you look at the plan, it's a large opening.
I'm looking at the plan.
Okay.
I don't hate it, okay?
All right.
I just don't like, and honestly, if you didn't have all those windows on the extension, I think you'd like it better. I don't mind the screen porch. I kind of like it.
I love the screen porch.
Screen porch is fine, it's a
Oh, the
sunroom.
sunroom, sorry.
The screen porch is beautiful.
Glad we all agree.
Maybe, getting back to the issue of the black windows, somehow that makes it even much more prominent, the black windows in the addition. I'm wondering if that were more in keeping with the rest of the windows in the house, if it would somehow,
Oh, right. Oh, no.
disappear a bit
He's
more.
right. No, I don't like the sunroom windows either. I just didn't see.
Yeah,
Zach, had you gone to this house?
Yeah, I did a site visit.
Right.
I was-
Yeah, well, that's right, you did, right. So this sunroom that we're talking about, was there a sunroom
Yeah,
on the original
there's one
structure?
now.
No, I know it's
Was
there
there?
now.
No.
But on the original design, was there a sunroom, and what,
I don't,
probably not?
I
Oh, you
I don't know.
you don't know, okay.
Yeah.
What wouldn't you, I mean, I'm sorry, we're on this rant now. I think the sunroom is kind of industrial compared to this kind of ethereal, weird,
Yeah, it looks like
House.
industrial.
it does look industrial.
and the black windows really add to that. But I actually think that should be more, I don't know what to say, artful.
Could you adapt the vocabulary of the screen porch, not replicate, but adapt and interpret so that it relates more to that? Maybe arches, but maybe, I don't know, but that has to be very beautiful. And it also recalls, some of the half timbering you've got in some of these gables.
Porches.
So maybe just a more tradiated sunroom, more like posts and arches or not, I don't know. Posts and beams, perhaps with, what do you call it, the Walden Manor, that curved thing? OG, perhaps.
It is pretty strident in the middle of this, what I call a lyrical building.
Yeah, it's a very lyrical, beautiful building.
So I missed out. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, but I think,
So we have no historical connotation as to the sunroom.
No.
no. But there is extant a sunroom.
Yeah, no, I know,
Okay.
I know. And this is an improvement against that, but what I'm trying to do is take in what you folks are saying and try to understand, was there an historical concept, which, building on what Peter is saying, is could you incorporate that into the design of the sunroom so that it doesn't look, whatever adjectives you folks have used. So.
The one thing with the sunroom currently, it is a large expanse of glass that's there now.
Yeah,
And they get to enjoy a nice view of the lake, and they don't necessarily want to have that broken down to the same level as the brick openings on the house, because we're going to lose the magic of that.
Right.
I agree that the huge expanses of glass on the existing sunroom are anomalous, and, it's like a black eye in the house. But if you introduced more verticals, made it more of a loggia, a modern loggia even.
A modern loggia, it would be
really-
easier to
It
digest.
really I mean, I don't, if you just look at a piece of the existing sunroom, it's not bad. It's just that there's too much glass, I think. And I think if you did a more a loggia design, and it could be modern, or it could be like the sun porch or the screen porch. I don't know, but I mean, there are possibilities.
So there we are, I believe. So mostly it's about windows and something
And
about
scale.
scale. It doesn't, I do think that we all agree that the extension is a little too tall.
No, it's scale.
And stiff.
It's within code. Well, no. I think we have to be explicit in the language which we use, that the scaling of the height to the other buildings makes it appear less subservient than the
Correct.
board would like to see.
And there's been a suggestion that perhaps the roof of the building next to it that's original might be a better approach, the scale, or that clipping the corners by making it, and maybe clipping the corners to make it a hip rather than a large expanse might be helpful. Those are two ideas.
And they're very, he's very clever, this architect. He does a long roof, but then at the end he does a little gable pavilion. And why couldn't you do a device like that?
He breaks it up.
Yeah.
Calamus and Coffin are the architects.
Okay. So,
Okay.
I think you need to come back. Do you think? So, you want to come back in 2 weeks or in 4 weeks?
2 weeks would be great.
Okay, motion to approve applicant's request at 412 First Neck Lane LLC for an adjournment until our next meeting on the 25th of August.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Aye.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The brick problem that you have on your hands, I'm so glad that Mary Jablonski is going to try to,
Yes.
because when you read something that says we're going to make it all right, it looks like somebody did something a long time ago that was not all right.
Yeah, with the coinings, with the brick.
Yeah.
We're really trying to refurbish that.
So I don't know
And
whether-
that's been the client's objective to really.
Absolutely.
Beautiful house.
It's a fabulous house, but was it Portland cement or was it sandblasted? I mean, it's a mess.
Or time.
Yeah. No, so
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Okay. Motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
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 Aye, aye.
Yay, yay.
So Charlie, tell us when you're off.